Much, guys. Yeah, little things that are going to have to change on the side of faculty. Starting off maybe with the draft phase, because H2k really had a plan going into this one.
Yeah, I mean, first picking Jarvan has been quite the go-to thing from like a lot of Korean teams, especially like SKT. They kind of made this whole thing happen because Jarvan is probably like the best jungler right now, and just the way it works, he fits so many team compositions, and especially if you get Lissandra and Jarvan in one team, you're most likely guaranteed to actually win the team fights, and you have so much hard engage. Even the Janna pick doesn't work out because the second you engage with one champion, the Janna has to ultimate, and the second time you get re-engaged on, and it's too overwhelming to deal with, I think, in my eyes.
Yeah, I definitely think good draft coming out from H2k. Yeah. Questionable draft from faculty, but they had a lot of issues with that, but they solved a lot of them with the lane swap, and I think that's something I want to highlight, how they did that. They basically let H2k be greedy. Their bot lane, for example, took golems, and that gives you a lead, but faculty said, no, we're going to lane swap. Because you're taking golems, you can't freeze that bottom lane. That means you're automatically going to push that in. Later on, they sent Jackson Janna to the bot lane, soak up that experience. That was good. Meanwhile, their top lane was frozen in the lane swap, so they did a lot of good things with that lane swap, including, I think, a counter gank around the 7-minute mark, and we even have a replay for that if we can get that on your screen right away. That's actually show that faculty just understood the game. And Dexter, you had a couple of things to say here?
Yeah, I mean, the way it works right now is the second Lissandra hits level 6, you want to call your jungler into the top lane right now, and because it's a guaranteed kill. But faculty actually read it pretty well. I mean, Elise already set up for the counter gank here, because it's just the play you want to do with Lissandra. You want to go in at level 6. There we go. Even misses the cocoon. Pretty good ultimate, but yeah, overcommitment, and then you don't even calculate in the heal right now, and yeah, the heal makes it so they actually get double killed in return.
So yeah, they can chase with Stalkers and then actually finish up. Stalkers are at least not something we see all the time. 2 flashes coming out. I really like this play as well. Good counter gank. Yes, it wasn't mechanically executed, but if you can make a play work without even executing it properly, it means it was a really good ID.
It was a really good idea.
And that's basically the premise of this entire series. Their faculty had the better IDs, but I think later on, H2k came with the better IDs. Yes, they weren't perfect. The vision control was lacking, and some of the rotations could have been quicker. But H2k had a really good strategy. They used split push well for the first time today. We've actually seen how powerful it is if you have split push and then people back off at the right times and just contest objectives.
Yeah, let's break actually a couple of those things that they did well or maybe not so good down. You were mentioning vision control, and as we see, oftentimes in teams that are not that experienced in the higher echelons, they don't seem to ward deep enough, early enough when they are able to get the advantage.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, there's a replay for this as well, if you can get that on your screen right now. It's going to be rather boring for a lot of you guys watching, but it's just, I want to highlight how you can use double sidestone to your advantage. So if you roll the clip right here, we see that Jax is basing, and we have this knowledge on H2k size. We see that Elise is top, we see Graves mid, we see Ari bottom, so right here, in my opinion, Jarvan and Thresh should move into the red side jungle, place 2 wards, which they still have, 1 above red side, the red camp pit, and then 1 around Raves. This gives you top side control, and if you then base, move to bottom side, you get deep wards on bottom side control, you can start playing the map. H2k, it felt almost as if, we can pull down the replay right now, obviously my point's made already. It felt like H2k was picking an objective, like say, okay, we're gonna do Dragon, then warding around that objective, defending it properly though, not greeting, and taking it down successfully, instead of just putting their wards first and then letting the wards dictate their play. Okay, we see action top, let's go bottom, let's get a cross-map objective here. But I do have to compliment them on the way they still took down those objectives. Do you remember that 4v5 Dragon? They still had Zed split push at the top.
Yeah, absolutely, because you guys were mentioning when we looked at Corky's build, he's going to hit Triforce soon, then Zed should start splitting, and they read those signs perfectly, so they absolutely have that split push game down as well.
Yeah, I mean, H2k played that draft, like their composition, pretty well, I think. Zed went split pushing as soon as he got strong. He got that 1 kill and then snowballed perfectly off it. And then you had Lissandra actually not doing so well, but he actually made like picks happen. So pretty good execution from their team comp, I think, from H2k in my eyes. And the biggest problem is, even if you have an early game lead in faculty's case, like you have a Jax that scales and everything, but in the end it just an overwhelming team composition by H2k, and I think it all came down to the drafting actually, because Lissandra, Jarvan, like I said, very high win rate together, incredibly synergy between both champions, and if they actually had this tiny edge in the draft, I think faculty can actually take games off, because the execution and idea, even if they put themselves into like a hole more or less in the picks and bans, the execution in early game was actually pretty good for for Faculty, so I have to compliment them on that part, I think. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I think Faculty went for the just tilt 'em strategy.
Just tilt 'em.
But sadly enough for them, H2k did actually stayed composed. If we saw, like, the game was going down the drain, a lot of kills. The goal was even, but if you're in that seat right there, all you have to go and base yourself off is that gold. You don't count the dragons either, you know, because it's an invisible stat. I really like how composed H2k stayed, and Febvin, he showed up 5-0-0 at one point. I don't even know what crazy score he ended the game.
You said he's a fantastic Zed, and we saw it. He did absolutely great, and it's H2k that's going to take the first game. We're going to take a short break, but when we come back, it'll be game 2 between Faculty and H2k. Stay put.